Hello everyone, welcome back to the Global Conflict News channel. Please subscribe my channel. The world is witnessing another dramatic escalation in the war between Russia and Ukraine, a conflict that has already reshaped global geopolitics and redefined the nature of modern warfare. In the dead of night, Ukraine carried out a massive and coordinated strike that targeted Russia's oil refineries and power grid installations, plunging parts of Russian territory into darkness and sending shockwaves across international markets. This raid was not only about military objectives but also about demonstrating technological capabilities, resilience, and strategic intent. To understand this operation fully, we will examine it in the format we often use for reviewing advanced machines, looking at the exterior, interior, performance, safety features, unique selling points, cost implications, and then concluding with the bigger picture of what this means for the war and the world. The exterior of this operation can best be described by the visible results it left behind. Multiple drones, cruise missiles, and electronic warfare tools were launched simultaneously across hundreds of kilometers. From the outside, the raid was orchestrated with precision, resembling a high-tech demonstration of how modern conflicts unfold beyond the battlefield. Fireballs lit up the night sky above oil depots, black smoke poured from refining facilities, and videos captured by local residents showed electricity grids sparking and collapsing into darkness. The impact was visible even from satellite imagery, as the thermal signatures of burning fuel tanks and transmission stations spread across Russia's western regions. This exterior layer of the story was both physical and psychological. While flames and destruction dominated the visuals, the real message was that Ukraine has reached deeper into Russian territory with accuracy and confidence, undermining Moscow's aura of invulnerability. The interior, though less visible, reveals the planning and technological sophistication behind the strike. Inside Ukraine's command centers, the operation was coordinated with intelligence gathered from drones, satellites, and human sources. Military engineers adapted drones to fly long distances with stealthy signatures, while software specialists programmed attack routes that could bypass Russia's layered air defense systems. The interior of this mission also included cyber elements, digital tools that disrupted radar coverage and communication, creating gaps in Russia's defensive shield. While the flames outside captured global attention, the real strength of this operation lay in its carefully designed interior structure, seamless integration of intelligence, logistics, and timing. The interior was short, sharp, and efficient, demonstrating that Ukraine has built an effective brain behind its military muscle. When we consider performance, Ukraine's raid exceeded expectations. Dozens of targets were engaged in a single night, and despite Russia's dense air defenses, many drones and missiles penetrated successfully. Performance in this sense refers not just to the hardware but also to the overall effectiveness of the operation. The raid disrupted fuel supplies critical for Russia's war machine, forcing Moscow to divert resources to repair infrastructure and protect facilities. In terms of performance metrics, Ukraine demonstrated range, accuracy, and psychological pressure all at once. Russian social media was flooded with panic reports, while energy markets reacted nervously to the idea that major oil refineries could remain under threat. Just as we rate the performance of a fighter jet or a warship, the performance of this strike lies in its ability to project power at a distance, to sustain pressure, and to weaken the adversary's ability to wage war in the long term. The safety features of this operation are paradoxical, because while no military strike is safe, Ukraine implemented strategies to minimize risks to civilians. Targets were carefully chosen to focus on oil and energy infrastructure rather than residential areas. Ukraine also used drones and long-range missiles instead of manned aircraft, which ensured that no pilots were put in direct danger. By relying on unmanned systems, Ukraine reduced casualties on its own side and limited exposure to retaliation in real time. In addition, the safety feature here extended to signaling. By demonstrating it could hit strategic facilities without mass civilian casualties, Ukraine sought to maintain international support, particularly from Western allies who closely monitor how these strikes are carried out. The safety component is about balancing the need to damage Russia's war economy while preserving legitimacy in the eyes of global partners. The unique selling points of this operation are striking. First, Ukraine showcased the adaptability of relatively low-cost drones and locally modified missiles against one of the most heavily defended nations on Earth. Second, the raid emphasized psychological warfare, showing that even deep inside Russian territory, no asset is completely secure. Third, the attack was coordinated with precision timing, striking multiple facilities at once to overwhelm defenses. Fourth, it sent a geopolitical signal: Ukraine is not merely defending its borders but is capable of strategic offense. These selling points highlight why this raid matters beyond the battlefield. It reshapes the perception of Ukraine's capabilities, challenges Russia's sense of security, and reassures Ukraine's allies that their support is being used effectively. When we discuss price, it is not only about financial cost but also about strategic trade-offs. On the financial side, Ukraine spent relatively little compared to the damage inflicted. Modified drones can cost anywhere from a few $1,000s to tens of thousands, yet they managed to destroy infrastructure worth billions. For Russia, the price is steep. Repairing oil refineries and power plants requires massive resources, time, and specialized equipment. The indirect price also includes lost revenue from disrupted oil exports, weakened supply chains, and shaken investor confidence. On the other hand, Ukraine risks escalation, as Russia could retaliate with intensified strikes on Ukrainian cities. Thus, the price of this operation also involves political calculation: how much damage can Ukraine cause without crossing the threshold that might alienate its allies or trigger disproportionate retaliation. In conclusion, the massive night raid on Russia's oil and power grid was more than just a military strike. It was a carefully crafted demonstration of capability, strategy, and intent. On the exterior, it lit up the night sky with destruction, proving that Russia's infrastructure is vulnerable. On the interior, it reflected sophisticated planning and technological integration. Its performance showed range, accuracy, and effectiveness, while its safety features demonstrated restraint and risk reduction. The unique selling points made clear that Ukraine can innovate and adapt, turning inexpensive drones into powerful strategic tools. The price inflicted on Russia was immense, far outweighing the cost Ukraine invested. Ultimately, this raid underscores a larger truth about modern warfare: conflicts today are not only fought with tanks and troops but with intelligence, precision, and the ability to strike the enemy's economic lifelines. For Ukraine, this was not just an operation, it was a message to Moscow, to Kyiv's allies, and to the world that the balance of power in this war is constantly shifting, and that even in the darkest hours of night, sparks of resistance can ignite global consequences.